Money was not created to build empires, but empires quickly realized it was the best way to govern over large distances without constant violence. The Persian Empire understood this better than any other ancient empire. Long before Rome figured out taxation or China perfected bureaucratic control, Persia used money as a political tool. It was not just a method of exchange. It was a system of obedience, coordination, and legitimacy that allowed one ruler to govern millions across 3 continents. The Persian Empire did not start as a wealthy state. It began as a coalition of tribes in the Iranian plateau, surrounded by older and richer civilizations. What set Persia apart was not better weapons or bigger armies, but its early awareness that conquest alone was costly, unstable, and temporary. Lasting power needed reliable revenue, standardized payments, and trust in state-issued currency. Persia established one of the world's first imperial monetary systems, reshaping the ancient economy. When Cyrus the Great founded the Achaemenid Empire in the 6th century BCE, he inherited a mix of local economies. Lydia used electrum coins, Mesopotamia relied on silver weight systems, Egypt paid workers in grain, and Central Asia mostly used barter. Instead of forcing a single currency on everyone right away, Persia let local systems continue while setting imperial money as the foundation for taxes and military finance. This approach reduced resistance and allowed the economy to keep running smoothly, gradually linking regional wealth to central authority. The major breakthrough came under Darius I. Often seen as an administrator rather than a conqueror, Darius turned Persia into a fiscal state. He split the empire into regions known as satrapies, each with a specific annual tax obligation. These taxes were not random. They were carefully calculated based on factors like agricultural output, trade flow, population density, and local customs. This was the first time in history that taxation was organized on such a large scale. Money made all this possible. Darius introduced the gold daric and the silver seglos, imperial coins, with consistent weight and purity. The daric, featuring the image of the Persian king as an archer, became one of the most trusted gold coins in the ancient world. Its value was stable, its purity consistent, and it was widely accepted. Merchants from Greece to India recognized it, soldiers wanted it, and satraps collected it. King's image on the coin was not just decoration. It symbolized that the value stemmed from imperial authority. By controlling coinage, Persia controlled payments. Soldiers were paid in silver and gold instead of just taking loot. This professionalized the army and reduced reliance on plunder. A paid army could be stationed far from home for long periods, loyal to the central treasury rather than local leaders. Military loyalty became a financial relationship. As long as payments were timely, the empire remained stable. Persia also recognized that money was pointless without infrastructure. Roads were built not just for armies, but also for trade and taxes. The royal road stretched for thousands of kilometers, connecting Asia Minor to Mesopotamia. Along this road were way stations, storage depots, and administrative centers. Couriers transported tax records, coin shipments, and economic data. This network enabled the central government to monitor revenue flows like never before. Trade thrived under this system. Persia did not restrict commerce, it protected it. By ensuring safe passage, standardizing weights and measures, and enforcing contracts, the empire lowered transaction costs. Merchants could travel knowing their silver would be accepted, their debts acknowledged, and their property safeguarded. This predictability led to economic growth, increasing tax revenue without raising rates. Persia understood a principle modern economists would agree with. A growing economy generates more revenue than coercive extraction. Another key aspect of Persian monetary power was tolerance. Unlike later empires that imposed strict economic rules, Persia let local leaders keep their status and wealth as long as they paid taxes. Temples, cities, and regional rulers often collected taxes themselves, sending a portion to the imperial treasury. This decentralized collection lowered administrative costs and reduced political friction. Money flowed upward, while authority flowed downward. Religious institutions were included in the economic system rather than being suppressed. Temples acted as banks, storage centers, and providers of credit. Persia did not dissolve these institutions, it taxed them. This approach allowed the empire to tap into existing financial networks without having to build them anew. Money moved through familiar channels, always directed toward imperial control. The Persian approach to money also applied to diplomacy. Tribute payments were designed not to humiliate, but to create bonds. Client states paid in silver, goods, or labor, receiving protection and access to trade in return. This shifted military dominance into economic dependency. Former enemies became invested in imperial stability because their wealth now relied on Persian peace. Even Greece, often seen as Persia's ideological rival, was economically connected to Persian money. Greek mercenaries fought for Persian satraps. Greek cities traded with markets controlled by Persia. Persian gold affected Greek politics, funding factions and forming alliances. Long before open warfare, Persia had already integrated Greece into its financial sphere. However, the Persian monetary system had its limits. Its strength relied on trust in imperial stability. When succession crises surfaced, confidence began to fade. Satraps started hoarding revenue, coin circulation slowed down, military payments became irregular. Once money stopped flowing, loyalty broke down. This pattern repeated throughout. When states fail to pay, armies rebel. When armies rebel, states collapse. The invasion of Alexander the Great highlighted this vulnerability. Persia did not collapse because it lacked wealth. It fell because its financial system depended on centralized legitimacy. When Alexander seized treasuries at Sardis, Susa, and Persepolis, he did not destroy Persian money. He captured it, melted it down, and reissued it. Control of money equated to control of the empire. The change of power was financial before it became political. Alexander's success showcases Persia's legacy. The very tools that built the empire could also be used by its conqueror. Standardized coinage, tax districts, bureaucratic records, and trade networks remained in place. Persia had created an imperial operating system that outlasted the dynasty itself. The deeper lesson is that Persia ruled not by extracting maximum wealth, but by improving money flow. Taxes were predictable, currency was trusted, and trade was secure. Violence was minimized because it was too costly. Stability proved to be profitable. This logic would later be adopted by Rome, the Islamic Caliphates, and modern states. Persia also understood inflation implicitly. Coin debasement was rare. Keeping metal purity preserved trust. This restraint prevented the type of monetary collapse that later hurt Rome. Persian rulers recognized that short-term financial gain from debasement could ruin long-term control. Money was treated like infrastructure, not as a political tool to exploit. In this regard, Persia pioneered a style of economic governance. Power was exercised through incentives rather than constant force. People followed rules not only out of fear, but also because taking part in the imperial economy benefited them. This alignment of interests reduced rebellion and boosted productivity. The Persian Empire challenges modern beliefs about ancient governance. It was not a simple despotism relying on tribute and violence. It was a complex fiscal machine operating across cultural, language, and geographic divides. Money was its language of rule. Empires often fall when they overextend militarily. Persia collapsed when its financial legitimacy broke down. Once soldiers questioned payments, satraps questioned authority, and merchants questioned stability, the empire's foundations crumbled. The decline was quick because trust, once lost, is hard to regain. The Persian narrative highlights a time-worn truth in history. Armies run on money, states operate on trust, and empires last only as long as their currency functions. Persia mastered this concept earlier than any civilization before it. This skill enabled a relatively small ruling group to govern the largest empire the world had ever seen. Modern states still follow Persian principles. Tax systems, standardized currencies, infrastructure investments, tolerance for local institutions, and trade protection remain key components of power. The methods may have changed, but the underlying principles persist. Persia did not invent money, but it created the concept of a monetary empire. It showed that economic systems could take the place of brute force as the main tool of governance. In doing so, it transformed how power was built, maintained, and lost. The ancient world did not belong solely to the strongest army.